or rather, his eyes and her helpless stare, met.
I've never been scared of the dark. I used to laugh at people who needed night lights or slept with the TV on. I like silence. I like the stillness. That was before the night I woke up and saw him, the man in the corner. Now I haven't slept in the dark since. It started 3 weeks ago. I went to bed like usual around 11 p.m. after scrolling through TikTok and brushing my teeth. Nothing unusual happened that day. No stress, no horror movies, no late-night caffeine. I remember lying in bed and feeling that slow descent into sleep, that familiar pull downward. Then I snapped awake. But I couldn't move. At first, I thought I was still dreaming. My eyes were wide open, but my limbs were unresponsive. I was lying on my back, and every nerve in my body screamed for movement, just a twitch, a breath, anything. But I was paralyzed. I've read about sleep paralysis before, but knowing what's happening doesn't prepare you for the terror of living it. And that's when I saw him. In the farthest corner of my bedroom, right beside the dresser, was a figure, taller than any man I know, dressed in what looked like a black suit, but the edges of his form seemed to flicker, like smoke tried to remember it used to be a body. His face was wrong. Not absent, worse. Empty. It was like someone had tried to stretch human skin over a mannequin skull, but left out the details. No eyes, no mouth, just soft, smooth nothingness. He didn't move at first, just stood there, watching. I could feel his attention like a pressure sinking into my skull. My heartbeat spiked, and I swear I could feel it echo through my ears. Then the air changed. Heavy, electric. My chest felt like it was being compressed by an invisible weight. My lungs fluttered, starved for air. Tears welled in my eyes, but I couldn't blink them away. And then he moved, not like a person. He didn't step forward. He floated, as if the space around him folded and unfolded like paper. His body glided toward the bed, slowly, deliberately, without sound. As he neared, the shadows around him deepened. They writhed like they were alive. The hum in the room grew louder, like a chorus of whispers layered over each other, repeating syllables I didn't understand. It was like he was bringing something with him, something ancient, hungry, and vast. He reached the side of the bed, bent forward. His face was inches from mine now, and though he had no eyes, I felt them burrow into me, studying me like I was something he'd been searching for. Then something even worse happened. A second face emerged behind his shoulder, smaller, familiar. It was mine. It looked like me, but hollowed out. Its mouth moved silently, over and over, as it tried to warn me. I watched my own reflection scream with no sound, and then he leaned in and whispered without lips. We are always watching when you think you are alone. When I finally broke free, I gasped so violently I pulled a muscle in my neck. My sheets were soaked. My eyes were burning. The corner of my room was empty, but it hasn't looked the same since. It's darker, thicker. Sometimes when I blink, I think I see him, just for a second, waiting.
My cousin Emma was always the brave one. She grew up on horror movies and true crime. She worked late shifts, lived alone in a small apartment, and never flinched at things most people would call scary. That changed last November. It was a cold night, and she had just come home from a double shift at the hospital. Her routine was simple: microwave dinner, shower, check her phone, bed. She was out by midnight. Around 2:45 a.m., she woke up, not groggily but sharply, as if someone had slapped her brain awake. Her eyes opened, and she instantly realized something was wrong. She couldn't move. She was lying on her side, facing her bedroom door. Her arms, legs, even her tongue, completely frozen. Panic set in quickly. She had experienced sleep paralysis before, but this time felt off. There was a sound, a soft creak. Her door, which she always locked, was slowly, quietly opening. Emma's heart pounded. She tried to scream, to shift even a finger, but nothing responded. Her body was a prison, and her mind was screaming inside it. Then he stepped in. A man, tall, wearing a black hoodie. His face was obscured by shadows. In one hand, he held a flashlight, not turned on, just used to gently move things. He didn't sneak. He walked like he belonged there, like this wasn't his first time. He went to her desk, her closet, her drawers. Each movement was practiced. She was paralyzed, completely conscious, watching as a stranger robbed her in real time. He walked to her nightstand, took her phone, looked at a framed photo of her and her niece. Then he turned, and he saw her. Their eyes, or rather, his eyes and her helpless stare, met. He walked slowly to her bedside and crouched down until his face was inches from hers. "You sleep like the dead," he whispered, smiling slightly. For a second, she thought he might stab her. Or worse. But then he stood and walked out the door. 10 minutes later, her body unlocked. She screamed like she'd never screamed before, ran barefoot down the hallway, and pounded on her neighbor's door until her fists bled. The police found no forced entry, no prints, nothing missing except her phone and some jewelry. But Emma never went back. She moved in with her parents, sleeps with a bat under her bed now. And every time she closes her eyes, she wonders, did he know she was awake the whole time?
I'm not crazy to have questioned that 1,000 times, replayed every second, every detail. But something happened to me. Something that changed the way I look at the world and the sky. It started like any normal night. I was home alone, my roommate out for the weekend. I stayed up late watching documentaries about deep-sea creatures. I remember thinking, we know so little about what's below us. Funny in retrospect because I should have been looking up. I went to bed around 1 a.m., drifted off quickly. At 3:03 a.m., I awoke with an electric jolt. Not from a sound or a nightmare. It was like something reached into my brain and flipped a switch. But I couldn't move. Paralysis gripped my body, cold and absolute. I couldn't wiggle my toes, turn my head, or even blink. My breathing was shallow, like something sat on my chest. And then the ceiling began to shimmer. Not metaphorically, literally. The paint rippled like water, and a soft blue glow seeped through the cracks. Then the ceiling opened, like a wound splitting across the plaster. 3 shapes looked down at me. They weren't tall, maybe 4 feet at most. Their skin was grayish blue, semi-translucent. Their eyes, pitch black, almond-shaped, all-consuming, locked onto me with an intelligence that felt cold and clinical. I tried to scream, but nothing came. Even my thoughts felt muffled, like someone was sifting through them. One of them raised a hand. A beam of pale, sterile light wrapped around my chest and lifted me slightly off the mattress. I felt it probing inside me, not physically, but mentally, emotionally. Every childhood memory, every failure, every fear, all ripped to the surface. Then came the voice, but not spoken. It echoed in my mind. Observation complete. Subject awareness high. Memory retention probable. Another voice followed. No longer necessary to hide. He sees. I blacked out. When I came to, I was back in bed, drenched in sweat, nose bleeding. My alarm was flashing 3:03, the exact time I'd woken. There were 3 marks on my thigh, small, round bruises in a perfect triangle. They didn't hurt. They never faded. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I know this. They didn't take me for the first time that night, just the first time I remembered.